Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 PDGA Board of Director Candidate Interview Series. I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, and I've teamed up with the PDGA to get to know a little bit more about the 8 candidates we have running for this year's Board of Directors. Joining me today is John Baker. And John, how you doing?
All is well, Terry. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. We're going to start off the series here with a couple of really basic, simple get-to-know-you questions, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper as we go. And the first one are definitely the easiest, which are, how long have you been a PDGA member, and how long have you played disc golf?
First joined in 2016, and, just one of my earliest memories, I think, is with my grandfather on my dad's side. We've got pictures. I was like 3-4 years old. He would throw the Frisbee with me for, I think, hours and just never complain. He was like in his 70s. Anyway, I grew up in a small town with 2 brothers, and we threw a lot of Frisbee. We just enjoyed it. I mean, all the time. And my older brother got into disc golf a little earlier than I did, then my younger brother, and then me. So we had a lot of fun just inter-family competitions. But since I got into, the sport, one of my favorite things about it is just the community. It just keeps growing. Yeah, I've met very few bad people in the sport, mostly just people that I enjoy. And I think that's probably my favorite part about the whole thing.
No, that answers what drove you to it, and that's perfect. That was kind of the next component of that. So you said you signed up, though, for the PDGA in 2016?
That's right.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're going to get into a little bit more detailed questions. And the first one that's coming at you is, one of the 2 main elements of the PDGA mission is to develop disc golf into a globally recognized competitive sport and recreational activity. What does that mean to you, and how would you contribute as a board member toward meeting this objective?
Well, I think that's a fantastic objective. It's an objective that any enthusiast of the sport, just someone like me who just plays a lot of casual rounds in a tournament every now and then, really promotes just naturally, because you'll see folks taking up the sport, and you're just thrilled when someone says, "Oh, this is my first round," or they're bringing their kids out. It's always a good feeling to see the sport grow on a small level even. And if I had any opportunity to contribute to the sport growing on a larger level, that would be extremely gratifying. And that's why I chose to throw my name in the hat here, is because, I feel like I have certain professional qualifications that hopefully would benefit the board. I think most boards of directors need an attorney on them if that's possible, if that's doable. Because, if you're trying to grow the sport nationally and even internationally, you need to do so within the rules. You need to make sure to minimize or preferably eliminate any liabilities in doing so. And, I think that the way I might be able to assist in that would be to essentially give the board free legal advice by either answering legal questions myself, if I know the answer, looking it up if I don't, or even associating with some colleagues if it's a specialized area of the law.
Okay. Well, then we go on to ask and say, the other element of the PDGA mission is to sustain the growth of the organization, the membership, and just the sport in general. So the same question kind of applies, is what does that mean to you, and how would you contribute to the sustainability?
Yeah, I mean, what an amazing time to try to sustain the growth that's occurred. I mean, I know that's an obvious thing to say, but, I mean, just here in Athens, it's sort of hard to play around on a couple of the local courses where it used to be by yourself. And, I've heard a couple of guys say, "Oh, that's too bad." But to me, it's a beautiful thing. And whatever this explosion is, this perfect storm of the pandemic, and our sport. Combining to just sort of explode participation in new players. I just feel like that needs to be something that is definitely sustained and grown in every. Basically, it's an opportunity that can't be missed. In my mind, it's possibly what the folks who in the 70s contemplated, steady ed or some of those who came before us, what they hoped for, right? That there would be this opportunity where there were people who, all disc golfers know, most folks you run into, they'll see your shirt or something and say, well, what's disc golf or what is that? But I'm more and more, just in general, people are, the awareness is being raised in our sport. The participation is being raised in our sport. I think we're sort of at a critical juncture for this sport. And sustaining what we've got right now would really enable, I think, the PDGA to grow in a way, I guess, statistically, that it never has before. I mean, it already has, I think. But I would just like to be a very small part of trying to make sure that this recent explosion is taken to the next level.
Okay, well, we've got some options for you, and this one's a little bit. This is a full question in terms of just challenging you and your memory. So I'll be happy to repeat these. It says the current priorities for the 2023 PDGA strategic plan include the following areas. And so I'm going to read off 6 main priorities here that are listed in our upcoming strategic plan. And then it's going to ask you, or I'm going to ask you, to prioritize those, just the top 2. What ones do you feel are the most important and why? Okay. So there's 6 bullet points I'm going to read for you. And those include youth and education, increased support for local clubs, enhancing PDGA leagues, membership levels and benefits, sustainability, and marketing and media. So those are the 6 bullet points that are part of the 2023 strategic plan. And we're looking for you to maybe take your top 1 or 2 in terms of your priorities and why would you rank them the highest. I'm going to read them again for you, though. Youth and education, increased support for local clubs, enhancing leagues, membership levels and benefits, sustainability, and marketing and media.
First of all, I think those are all fantastic points. I think those are all really great priorities for the PDGA. And, I think that it's great that there's 6 of them because 2 of those really did jump out at me. And okay. I think that, for another person on the board, it may be another 2. And, different people can bring their enthusiasm for those, to the conversation. But for me, the youth participation, even though it's first on the list, it also would have been the first on my list. And there's a good reason for that. I volunteered like 10 years ago to coach my stepson's soccer league when someone asked me to, even though I'd never played soccer, knew nothing about it. Okay. So I know that sounds crazy, but they just didn't have anybody to do it. Anyway, my point is that it was surprisingly gratifying, to see kids to, really get excited about, an athletic activity like that. And so that's exactly why my daughter is 13 and goes to a school here in Athens called Double Helix. And they needed some instructors for extracurricular activities. And I asked if they wanted me to do disc golf, and they said yes. And it was very cool. The kids were misbehaving the whole time, reminding me of when I was that age. But I will say that there were a couple of kids in the class that were naturals, and I was excited to see it. They were excited to see it. This is a sport where the similarities to ball golf astound me sometimes because I've played more ball golf since I was 10 or 11 years old. But one of those similarities, I think, is that the earlier that you can develop a technique, the better, for a lot of reasons. And I know that's an obvious thing to say, but one of the probably the best reasons would be that you don't have all of those years to form bad habits, like bad technique. And so the earlier we can get them involved in the sport, the better. That's my point. And
Okay.
I think that would be a fantastic focus for the PDGA. When I was teaching that class, I got in touch with Des Redding, who was very helpful, sent me a lot of tips. So I think the PDGA is on the right track, but I'd like to see that, go even further. I think that the second point that I'd like to focus on is marketing. There's an explosion, as we all know, in our sport right now, and it needs to be leveraged, at every possible opportunity, so that if this is going to be a worldwide sport that is, not only growing in participation and membership, but in prestige, got to approach it that way. And, I just love what's going on right now, not just the increase in participation, but with the Disc Golf Network. What the Disc Golf Network is doing, just to me right now, is so fantastic that it needs to be better advertised. I just think that there's people who maybe aren't even as, enthusiastic about the sport as we are right now, who would enjoy it. And, last year I caught some of the coverage, and there were some bugs in it. But this year I've just been so impressed with what's going on. And that's the kind of thing that everybody should know about. And, So I think that's my answer there, Terry, which is that I think as long as we can focus on getting kids involved just as early as possible, and making sure that we're doing the marketing so that all the amazing things that are happening, such as the Disc Golf Network and other coverages such as yours, and everything is being promoted the way that it should, I think that would be the way to prioritize going forward.
Okay. Well, with those two in mind, as you just recapped them, the follow-up question to that is, what skills and experiences would you bring to the board to help further those priorities? And I know you kind of touched on that with saying that you're volunteering with the school side and teaching disc golf. But what are some of the skills and experiences you'd bring to the board to help those priorities?
I would hope that the main thing I could bring to the board would just be my general enthusiasm for disc golf, which really annoys my wife because we were looking at refrigerators earlier, and I had on my tournament shirt, and someone asked about it, and so she's like, "Oh God,
here we go."
Yeah. So I think you know what I'm talking about. So
yeah.
Nobody's more enthusiastic than the disc golf guy. That's what I would bring to the table more than anything. I think is a willingness to assist any way that I could, but more specifically, it's like I was saying earlier, just any issues that related to rules, whether administrative, regulatory, or otherwise legal rules, would be the kind of thing that I could try to get answers on. And I think it could save the PDGA some money if they don't have to pay for outside legal counsel. It's just always good to have a lawyer around for when those issues pop up, so that you don't interrupt progress waiting on, sort of bringing a lawyer up to speed, outside the process, and then, hoping that they sort of get it, even though they weren't in the meeting. So that's the main thing that I would like to try to contribute, Terry.
All right. Well, the next question is, there is a burgeoning professional scene that attracts eyeballs, but the vast majority of our membership are amateurs. Mm-hmm. What do you think the organization's balance between the two should be?
That's a great question. I like the balance right now. Okay. I think that, you've seen, what is it, the end of the year tournament championship with the $20,000 for FPO and MPO. For instance, the purses are growing. The coverage is growing. I just like the vector of the way the PDGA is handling the professional side of it right now. And I can't complain at all about the way that they're handling, the side of things where I come from as well. The tournaments that are that we have around here that are sanctioned are all amazing. There's just in Athens, Georgia, there's just been an incredible increase in membership around here as of late. And so I must admit, if something's not broken, don't fix it. I feel like the balance is good.
Okay. I hear you. So now I guess we'll somewhat pull off of that one, which is there is evidence such as the current surge of membership, event growth, staff size, and so on and so forth that says we should just stay the course. And on the other hand, there's people that feel that the PDGA needs to change. Where do you fall on that spectrum and why?
Well, I don't know that you can just say generally the PDGA needs to change without being specific and having a course of action that is well reasoned and deliberate to make those changes. And so I don't mean to give you sort of a lawyerly answer here where I don't answer the question.
Hey, I didn't write the questions, man. So don't.
Yeah, I understand.
No.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is that I wouldn't feel informed truly to answer that question unless and until I was honored with an appointment to the board of directors so that I could get in there and start seeing exactly where things stand. And, is everything in compliance with, the objectives, the strategy and everything, but also the bylaws and all of the regulations that need to be considered. So I actually don't believe I would have an answer to that question unless I was better informed.
No, perfectly fine. I think if I'm going to use my personal interpretation here, I think one of the comments that gets said or has been said throughout the years since I've been around for now myself for 25 plus years is that some people feel like the board, for instance, can be a good old boys network. And of course, that's a phrase that gets thrown out there, whether I subscribe or not. That's a phrase that gets thrown around. And then I feel like some people also, what they mean by that is they feel as if somehow the PDGA is not doing enough and what that means to them. And so those are the ways that I interpret that. I don't know if you want to chime in on any of those, and I hope I'm not, trying to read too far into the question, but those are, to me, those I feel like are the ones that are most commonly kind of put out there. Well,
that's actually a really interesting perspective. As far as the Good Old Boys network, I often sue those people. People, I'm not much of a politician as far as that goes, and I guess people need to know that. I mean, if I see something wrong right in front of my face, I'm not going to ignore it. And that's I guess that's just sort of a subjective sort of personality thing. So to whatever degree that may help the voters.
Okay. Well, here's one that's a little bit specific to you. We're rounding out our set of questions, but one of them that's specific to you. It says your candidate bio discusses your professional and disc golf experience, but doesn't lay out any specific initiatives you plan to introduce to the board if elected. What plans have you outlined for implementation should you be elected?
None. And the reason for that is because I, again, think that the vector that the association is on right now is truly fantastic. I feel fortunate to have the PDGA where it is and where it's going. I just want to just chip in a small way to try to make sure that it's sort of on a compliance level and in any way that I'm needed. I am not coming in with an attitude of, well, I know best, and I've been in the game for 5 years, so I know best, so I'm going to change everything because I'm Mr. Progressive or whatever. That's just not how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it as, there's an amazing foundation in place that could be expanded in a deliberate and compliant way. And I just would like to assist with that in any way that I can.
Okay, well, we're at the final question, which is a certainly open-ended one, which just asks you, what do you bring to the table that sets you apart from the other candidates, and why should members vote for you?
I have a law degree. I've been practicing for 18 years, and I know how to solve problems that relate to, compliance and regulations. So I think that the PDGA board could benefit from having someone like that around at all the meetings.
All right. Well, that makes perfect sense. Well, John, I've got to admit, I think I've mentioned with everyone who I either did or didn't know prior to these interviews, you are someone that I hadn't met before, but I certainly am glad that we had the chance to talk. You've given me some personal insight, and then obviously, hopefully all of our voters out there, all of our PDGA members now know you a little bit better and also know the angles in which you're approaching this candidacy. So with that, we're going to let you go. I want to say thank you yet again. Of course, best of luck to you. And that's going to conclude our 2021 PDGA Board of Director candidate interview with John Baker. Get out there and vote, and we'll see you guys at the next one.
Honor to meet you, Terry. Thank you.